Hey everyone, Dave here with another Blu-ray DVD collection update / haul video. This is the second one for the month of August 2022, and in this one we're going to be going over some new releases from Umbrella Entertainment. There's a couple to take a look at here, so let's get into it. So as I said just before the jump there, in this video we're going to be taking a look at the latest releases from Umbrella Entertainment. This month, as usual, I'm going to be rolling out a couple of videos covering the most recent things that have been sent into me, but we're trying something a little bit different this month. We're going to be doing individual videos for each of the different distributors that are sending stuff in to try and make these videos a little bit shorter. I previously uploaded a video going over the most recent imprint titles. I'm also going to have videos covering stuff that's been sending from Viavision, Random Space Media, Kicks.com.au, and some personal pickups I have, of course, picked up along the way. Before we get into this one though, don't forget you can head over to shop.umbrella.com.au, and at checkout you can use the code DAVELY15 and get 15% off your entire order. That is limited to one use per customer, and I believe it's just kind of an open-ended code until Umbrella decide to kind of terminate it. So go ahead and use that on whatever you want to order. That is not an affiliate code. I don't make anything from that. This is just kind of my way to give back to the community. There's only a couple of titles, so this video shouldn't be too long. It seems like the team over at Umbrella are really kind of trying to scale back on the amount of titles that they are releasing every single month. We have got a little bit of everything in this wave right here, so let's jump straight into it. First up, let's take a look at the latest release from the Beyond Genres line. This is Volume 21, Megaforce. Megaforce is an elite multinational military unit that does the jobs that individual governments won't. When the peaceful Republic of Sardin is under threat from their more aggressive neighbour, the beautiful Major Zara and General Burn White see the help of Ace Hunter and Megaforce. The film was directed by Hal Needham and stars Barry Bostwick, Michael Beck, and Persis Kambata. This new release is loaded with a bunch of brand new bonus features, including new interviews with lead actor Barry Bostwick, a brand new audio commentary with author and mega fan Stephen Vagg, a couple of exclusive looks at the upcoming documentary Life After Megaforce, a Hal Needham trailer reel, and a bunch of other bonus featurettes. Megaforce is a movie that I was completely unfamiliar with before Umbrella announced the Blu-ray release of this, but when they did, I had to kind of get online and do a little research on it, and it just looks so cool. So of course I had to get a copy of this to take a look at it, and man, this movie is such a gem. I am a fan of big, explosive 1980s blockbusters, action sort of movies, and this is really everything that you think of when you think of one of those just kind of big, overblown action films from the 80s. There's crazy stunts, there's insane action set pieces, there are really, really cool vehicles, and cheesy acting. Everything that you want from one of these movies, it's right here. This film was kind of modeled after the R-rated action movies of the time. I'm not too sure what certificate this was given when it was first released at the cinemas, but as it is today, this has been rated G. But it really is so soft. There's really nothing in this that is, you know, there's not really much violence or gore or any of that stuff. The violence is really kept to explosions and stuff with vehicles and all this stuff. This is a really, really awesome movie. It is cheesy as hell, but you can really understand why this has gone down as a cult film, because it is huge. So many of these cult movies are huge. They're on an enormous scale. Somehow these movies pulled off the unthinkable with really, really, really low budgets. And I just think that is so cool and so commendable that these filmmakers were able to put together these really rough films that are just so big and explosive and just really awesome, to say it. This is a really beautiful looking movie as well. This has been shot gorgeously. There are sequences that have been shot out kind of in these barren desert landscapes that just pull up looking so, so nice. There are great sequences that have this really beautiful kind of low-key lighting, heavy shadows, really great kind of fluorescent light too, like reds and blues and stuff. Think of like the kind of sci-fi movies from the 70s, the 80s. This kind of has that kind of built into it as well, that kind of visual look. And this looks terrific on Blu-ray as well. Umbrella hasn't provided information on what the master or anything was that's been used for this. I'm not too sure if it's a 4K scan, but I imagine it's come direct from the original negative because this just looks stunning. I have never seen this movie on DVD, but I can imagine previous editions of this movie probably look nowhere near as good as this looks. It has an incredible grain structure. One of the things that I absolutely love from Umbrella, whether they are handling their masters or not, is that they really trying to get the best they can possibly get out there on the market. And this film just looks stunning. There are moments that look really crisp. There are other moments where it has this terrific grain structure. It looks so cinematic and filmic. And I just think this movie is it just absolutely rocks. Everything about this movie is so cool. One of the coolest things about this is the movie was made in a partnership with Mattel. Mattel actually made all these vehicles and cars and, you know, that kind of stuff for the movie, and they use these Mattel models actually in the movie, and I just think I think so much of that's cool. So if you're like a toy aficionado, like myself as well, a big fan of toys and collecting things, this also has that extra level of just being a really cool little obscurio when it comes to that kind of thing in cinema. Absolutely love it. Umbrella has actually sent over to me the collector's edition of Megaforce. Now this one is unfortunately sold out at the moment, but we do want to kind of spotlight this for you to show you the kind of collector's editions Umbrella is currently putting out there on the market. Umbrella has this great new release strategy where they're putting out all these limited collector's editions of these movies. They obviously know that the market has, in the last few years, rapidly skewed towards a collector's market, so they're putting out stuff like this that they know collectors like us absolutely love. Now, as I said, this Megaforce collector's edition is out of stock, unfortunately, was only limited to 250 units, but there are a number of other movies coming out in the coming months that do have collector's editions with them too, which you can check out. This one right here is an awesome collector's edition. It is inspired by the official Megaforce membership kit that was advertised on the back of comics in 1982. Not only does this set come with the standard edition of the movie with its slipcover, of course, but it comes with an enormous A3 reversible poster. I'm telling you, this thing is massive. It's got an embroidered cap, 8 poster postcards, a holographic sticker, and a membership card. The standard edition is still available, so you can pick that one up wherever you get your Blu-rays from. I would highly recommend ordering directly through Umbrella. Got to support them directly. I always think that's the best way to do it. And of course, you can use my my code for that one and get yourself 15% off, which is really awesome. So I highly recommend this movie because it's so much fun. Up next, let's take a look at the latest installment in the Ozploitation Classics line. This is number 17, Money Movers. The counting house at Darcy's Security Services is a fortress. Security is intense and any would-be robbers have little hope unless they get inside help. Money Movers is a fast-moving, ultra-violent telling of Australia's biggest and bloodiest armed robbery, the theft of $20 million from a payroll counting office. Money Movers is directed by acclaimed filmmaker Bruce Beresford and boasts a top-notch Aussie cast, including Brian Brown, Charles Bud Tingwell, Tony Bonner, Ed Devereaux, and Terence Donovan. As per normal, this set comes housed inside a slipcover and includes a number of exclusive brand new bonus features, including a new roundtable discussion with Bruce Beresford and some of the cast members, and a new interview with producer Matt Carroll. It also includes a number of archival bonus features, including a 2004 making-of featurette. This edition also comes with a really cool comic book adaptation of the film. Money Movers is a movie that I have been wanting to see for such a long time. I'm a big fan of Bruce Beresford's work. I love all these movies that Umbrella are putting out as part of the Ozploitation Classics line as well. So this was just kind of like a match made in heaven for me. Finally got a chance to see it, and man, this movie is so awesome. This is a gritty, grungy, incredibly violent Aussie crime thriller from the late 1970s that is just an absolute adrenaline ride. This is a movie that does not ever let up. From the very first high sequence that kicks this movie off right until the incredible climax at the end of it, you are on the edge of your seat just waiting for it to all explode, and when it does, it really does. When I say it's very violent, once again, keep in mind this is a movie that was made in the late 1970s. 1970s, so it is very tame compared to today's standards, but it is still a very confronting movie. And if you're familiar with these kind of thrillers from the 1970s, I think you know exactly what to expect with this one. I had so much fun with it, but aside from all that, this movie has a really great story. It's a narrative that you really get sucked into, and you really just want to follow these characters and find out how it all ends up. As I said, you are on the edge of your seat this entire film. There's great performances in here as well, particularly one from a very, very young Brian Brown. I'm a big fan of Brian Brown's works, and it's always great to get one of these earlier films from his career and explore one of his earliest performances. I think he's just so cool. This is a beautiful looking movie as well. Umbrella have detailed that this comes from a restored 4K master. They haven't detailed it any further than that, but I'm assuming it's probably come from an original print element because this pulls up looking beautiful. The great thing again about Umbrella is that they don't go in there with their heavy-handed DNR or digital stuff, you know, just a really beautiful cinematic filmic looking print. And this is a grungy Aussie crime thriller from the 1970s. It's gotta have a little bit of that dirt. It's gotta have that heavy grain structure, and this movie just makes you, transports you back in time, and it adds such a great atmosphere to the movie. I think this is one of my favorite films from the Ozploitation range for quite a while anyway. I really, really had fun with this one. I would highly recommend it. Next up is the latest installment of Sensual Sinema. It's volume number 5, David Hamilton's Bilitus. Famous for his ethereal images, iconic British photographer David Hamilton makes his controversial feature film debut with Bilitus. Set in the idyllic French countryside, the film sensually explores a young girl's awakening to intimacy, romance, and love during her summer vacation. As all of the Sensual Sinema line, Bilitus comes housed inside a slipcover and also includes an original CD soundtrack. Okay, so what is there to say about Bilitus? This isn't a movie that I particularly like. This is certainly not a movie that is usually in the wheelhouse of anything I would watch, but I'm always interested to kind of check out these kind of little obscurios of cinema, particularly these movies that have gone down in history as very well-known controversial films. This is another one of those movies, again, we've seen this a number of times with the Sensual Sinema range, that has either been applauded over the years for being a great piece of artsploitation, erotica, or for being essentially a softcore flick. And whatever side of the line you kind of stand on, you can make your own mind up on that. There's no doubt that Bilitus is a really beautiful movie. It has a really beautiful story, but there is a real sense of exploitation to this film for various reasons I won't really go into because I know how strict YouTube are with their guidelines for what you can talk about and stuff on this platform. But this is a movie that it certainly earns its R rating that is on the label there, and it certainly earns its legacy as being a incredibly controversial film. The way in which this story is told, though, it's incredibly problematic, and if you're kind of interested in this movie, there's a really great audio commentary that kind of breaks all this down, and I think kind of puts it into context, and again, kind of make your own mind up on this one. That's the best way I can put a movie like this. There's not too much about this movie that is really that good. It is a fairly, in some way, trashy kind of B-movie. Now, there's not a lot of great acting in here or anything like that. It really is kind of what you would expect from a movie like this. The filmmaking techniques in here are quite interesting. The movie has this really gorgeous ethereal quality, or as Umbrella describes it, a dreamy style. What is known as the Hamilton blur, so it's, Vaseline on the film lens that makes everything look really soft and ethereal and glowing. So, it makes everything just kind of have that kind of youthful glow to it. I think it is kind of a really interesting filmmaking style, and I think it looks really beautiful. And again, this new remaster really highlights that and just makes it look like a really just gorgeously made movie. This is a really beautiful release from Umbrella, though. This has come from a brand new restoration from the original 35mm vault elements that were archived in France. I don't know if I would ever explore any more of David Hamilton's works after this one, unless, of course, Umbrella does release them as part of this line, but I think it is a very interesting piece of cinema, and it's one that I am really happy has got this kind of release. So for those who are really keen or interested to check this one out, you can do so. For those who might feel they might be a little bit offended by this movie for any reason, there are, again, a lot of really controversial things surrounding this movie. This is an easy one, I think, that you can skip. And finally, we have got Retro Horror Double Feature Volume 5. This one includes Dr. Cyclops and Cult of the Cobra. In Cult of the Cobra, American GIs who trespass on a Hindu ceremony are hunted down by a beautiful woman who has the power to transform herself into a cobra. And in Dr. Cyclops, a mad scientist working in the South American jungle miniaturizes his colleagues when he feels his megalomania is threatened. Alright, so we've got another fantastic double feature of vintage horror movies. You all know that I am such a sucker for these old classic horror films. One of them in here, which is The Cult of the Cobra, is a Universal horror picture who I just think made the absolute best horror movies throughout the golden age of Hollywood. Of course they did. You got stuff like Dracula and Frankenstein and the Wolfman and the Creature from the Black Lagoon, The Mummy, all those, you know, terrific movies, but they made so many of these great little B-movie gems as well. And Cult of the Cobra is one of the most fun ones that I have seen in a long time. This one was made in the middle 50s, so it wasn't, you know, in that kind of earlier era where these movies were huge. This is kind of coming into that era where they were still making a few of them because there was a little audience appetite for them, but they were making them on smaller and smaller budgets. This is a movie that obviously had such a low budget, they didn't put much effort into special effects or anything like that. Your main villain here is, of course, a woman that turns into a cobra, and there's some pretty interesting kind of transformation sequences in there, but once she has transformed into a cobra, it's just like a plastic cobra on a string. I think it's so funny, but I think that just adds to the charm of a movie like this. The second movie here is Dr. Cyclops, which is actually an earlier one made in the 1940s by Paramount. This is actually the very first American horror film to be shot in the 3-strip Technicolor process, which of course uses the entire spectrum of colors that were available for Technicolor and just looks absolutely beautiful. Think of something like The Wizard of Oz, those stunning shining colors. Dr. Cyclops has a lot of that. All the previous horror movies that have been shot in Technicolor used the 2-strip process, which only made use of red and green, and they're movies that look very, very green, but when that process was used, well, it did look very, very good. We talk about movies like Dr. X and Mystery of the Wax Museum. But anyway, Dr. Cyclops is an interesting movie. It is a very important piece of cinema, not only because it is, you know, again, the first horror film that was shot in 3-strip Technicolor, but it has some really groundbreaking special effects for the time in here as well. It's a movie that actually feels like it probably should have come out 2 decades after, but this is also a period where they were playing around with a lot of special effects, you know, practical effects, on-screen stuff. This movie was actually nominated for Best Special Effects at that year's Oscars, but the Spectacular Thief of Baghdad won instead, quite rightly so. I didn't like this as much as I like Cult of the Cobra because I just really like that really kind of trashy, low-budget, B-grade horror stuff from early Hollywood. I just think that's always so fun. But this is a really great movie to take a look at as well. And at that is absolutely everything that's been sent in to me from Umbrella Entertainment this month. There are some awesome titles coming up and I can't wait to look at them for you in the coming months. Of course, if you want to pick up anything that I have showcased in this video here, or absolutely anything that Umbrella has to offer, you can head over to their website, shop.umbrellaentertainment.com.au, and use the code DAVELY15 at checkout to get 15% off your entire order. Once again, I'll be putting up a number of videos this month. I previously put up a video going over all the latest titles from Imprint. I'm also going to be covering stuff from kicks.com.au, Random Space Media, Via Vision, and some personal pickups that I've grabbed for myself over the last month as well. I'll just kind of be rolling these videos out over the next few days, over the next couple of weeks for you to all enjoy out there. Once again, thanks for watching, and thanks to the incredible team over at Umbrella Entertainment once again for sending over all these great titles. I really appreciate it and I love covering these for you. So thanks again. I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.